Okay, I'm going to do things a little bit different than usual in this video. I've lined up a whole bunch of problems to work on to show you sort of in real time how I work through these problems. I've told you in previous videos that practice and experience really guide you. And I want to give you a little bit of a little bit of a leg up in seeing how I deal with these kinds of problems. That are all going to be factoring problems, right? So when you're doing these in your homework, you're going to get slightly different numbers, but there are only so many types of problems that all the different textbooks use. So you'll just see my reasoning, and hopefully you can learn from that. So first it says factor completely, not just a little bit. We want to factor all the way here. Right? And I'm given two choices. Either 6a squared minus 216 can be factored, and I'll put the answer there with whatever is appropriate, or it won't be factorable, and I'll click B, the binomial is not factorable. Right? So when I look at this, the first thing I notice is that the factors of this are 6 and A, 2 and 3 and A. 216 is even, so they at least have a 2 in common. 21 is a multiple of 3, and 6 is a multiple of 3, so 3 and 2 both go in here. Now I know 216 is 6 to the third power, but I'm backing up a little bit, assuming you don't all recognize that as well. But if I recognize that it's at least divisible by 2, and I think it's probably also divisible by 3, I'll just go and do the long division. 216 divided by 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 18, 19, 20, 21, so that's remainder 3. Bring down the 6. 6 goes into 36 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And we're done. Right? So when I see 6a squared minus 216, I get 6 times a squared minus 36, right? 6 times a squared, 6 times 36 is 216. So I am tempted to just stop there, but I notice, wait a minute, here's a binomial, 36 is a perfect square, a squared is a perfect square, and it is minus. So I can continue, factor this difference of squares, a plus 6, a minus 6. And that's what I'm going to type in here. Put in 6 outside the parentheses, a plus 6, a minus 6. Hurrah. All right, the next question. Now it's a trinomial, so let's see what I can do there. Maybe slide this up just a bit. I can see a little better. So, a squared plus 16 minus 8a. Well, the first thing I notice is it's not in standard form. Right? This 8a term should be in the middle, so let me just rearrange that. The 8 has a minus in front of it, so that's minus 8a. The 16 has a plus in front of it, so that's plus 16. So I see here a squared, that's a perfect square. Right? A squared is a times a. And 16 is a perfect square. That's 4 times 4. So I'm tempted to get, what's going on there? Tempted to get a and 4 squared, but this middle term is minus, so that's got to be minus. And 4a and 4a is 8a. Yes, that works. So when I type in my answer, I can put in a minus 4 squared, a minus 4, close parentheses, and then I can click down here to get the square, or you notice it says superscript caret there. I can just hit Shift 6, and there's the little 2. Excellent. Right? Now, if you had written out a minus 4 times a minus 4, that would also be acceptable. All right. Now, 3b squared minus 10b plus 8. Okay, so I've got 3 and 10, nothing in common, and 8. Well, the 8 doesn't help me here. These are both even, but that doesn't help here. So 3 is a prime number. So I know that's going to be 3b and b. There's no other way to get a 3 other than 3 times 1. And 8 could be 1 and 8, or 2 and 4, or other way around. So let's just try 4 and 2 here. Now, to get a positive 8, they need the same sign. Since this is a negative, that sign's got to be negative, right? 4 plus 6, both negative. Oh, there you go, right? Let's actually work that out. 3b times 2 is negative 6b. Negative 4 times b is negative 4b. Right? Both negative, so they're adding up to 10 in the negative, and that's what we want. So that's it. Often you'll get the feel for these, and your first guess will be correct. And it's almost subconscious. All right, v cubed. All right, the first thing I notice here is that I have a v as a common factor. Right, this has a v, that's got a couple of v's, that's got a few more here. So that v can factor out. That leaves v squared plus 22v plus 121. And I recognize that's a perfect square. That's a perfect square. So 11 squared is 121. 11 times v is 11v. Double that, I get 22v. There we go. So it's v plus 11 squared. So v plus 11. And just to confirm what I said before, you're allowed to write it out instead of using the square. There you go. All right, next one, s cubed. All right, so this is one I tend not to tackle in an elementary algebra class here. It's a third degree, but the s doesn't factor out of all 4 of these here. So if I write this, s cubed minus 81s squared minus 4s plus 324. And we just have to keep track that this is an s, not a 5. I apologize for my handwriting. All right, so for a problem like this, we're going to use what's called factoring by grouping. I'll recognize that these two both have an s as a common factor. In fact, s squared as a common factor. This is s squared times 81. Now 81 is a perfect square, but that's just plain s here, right? So don't get too excited about recognizing that. It may or may not be useful later. All right, now here I have an s, no s, but 4 is a common factor. And this might be a little bit complicated here. This negative 4 is what I actually want to factor out. I don't just want to factor out 4, but since that's a negative term, I want to factor out the 4. So negative 4 times something gives me positive 324. So to get a positive product, I need negative times a negative. And to figure out what this is, I need to do 4 into 324. So I already know what that is. Maybe you can guess. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 81. All right, now when we look at these two terms, this is a common factor. Right? And we will actually see problems starting at this stage here. S minus 81 times something. S minus 81 times something. So here's S minus 81. That's being multiplied by negative 4 and by s squared. Or if you prefer, as usual, when you write the common factor first, s minus 81 is the GCF of these two terms. Here's s minus 81 times s squared. Here's s minus 81 times a negative 4. All right, these are saying the same thing. That's an s, not a c. All right, s squared minus 4, s minus 81. Now 81 is a perfect square, plain s is not. But 4 is a perfect square, s squared is also a perfect square. So I have to recognize, I have to factor completely. Right? This one just says factor, but down here it's giving us the reminder, factor completely. So difference of squares, that's s minus 2, s plus 2. Plain s is not a perfect square, so that just stays s minus 81. And again, the order doesn't matter here. So s minus 2, s plus 2. S minus 81. Fantastic. All right, let's get in another one here. 8b squared minus 2. All right. So right away, I hope you recognize 2 is a common factor here. 2 times 4, 2 times 1, and difference of squares. All right, 4 is a perfect square, so that's 2b times 2b. 1 is a perfect square, 1 times 1 is 1, right? And because there's no b term in the middle, I know I'm going to get negative 2b plus 2b is 0b, which is 0, so that cancels out. So here's our 2, 2b minus 1, 2b, whoa, what's going on here? Minus 1, 2b plus 1. All right, so there's a reminder. Double check before you hit enter. Right? If you're not touch typing and you're actually looking at your fingers as you type, look up at the screen, make sure you typed it in correctly. I'm not sure what shortcut I hit that was giving me the subscript. I guess the underscore moves you to subscript mode by mistake here. All right, so that goes along with what I have on my paper, so I'll check my answer. Good job. All right, let's just do a few more. 6x cubed plus 16x squared minus 6x. Another third degree, but only 3 terms, so factoring by grouping might not be helpful. And x is a common factor here. So is 16, that's not 6 times something, but these are all even. So I'm going to factor out 2x. This is 2 times 3 is 6. And x times x squared is x cubed. Plus 2 times 8 is 16. X times x is x squared. Minus 2 times 3 is 6. And I already have my x. So if I were to distribute 6x cubed, check. 16x squared, check. 6x, yes, 6x. Okay. Now, I double check. Can I factor this trinomial? If I can, 3 is prime. We already had a problem where we had 3 as my leading coefficient. 3 here is also prime. Okay, here's where we can be wise. 3 is 3 times 1. I might be tempted to write it like this, but I don't have to use reverse FOIL to check. I know this is wrong. Because here I have a common factor within this binomial, right? Whether it's plus or minus, this is showing 3 is a common factor. Is 3 a common factor with this trinomial? No. So I can't have that common factor that would have been factored out. So instead of 3 and 1, I know I need to try 1 and 3. And then the only question is it plus minus or minus plus, or maybe it can't be factored further. So let's double check. 3 times 3 is 9, but that's negative. 1 times x is 1x. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. I want positive 8. So I know it's the reverse. Right, to get negative 1 and positive 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So there we go. 2x times 3x minus 1. And x plus 3. Fantastic. All right. Let's cut it there and try the next one in the next video.